we have something that has very big teeth on the front. Those look huge, don't they? They're very long and they're kind of sharp.
Very nice hibernation areas for the bats because they keep that nice constant temperature even in the winter.
Hi everyone, welcome to Nature Explorers. My name is Darcy and I'm a librarian at the Danbury Public Library. And along with being a librarian and loving books, I also love being out in nature and seeing all the plants and learning about the animals and the rocks we have in our area. It's really cool. And I hope you enjoy nature too. In this program, I'm going to take you on some hikes so I can show you some of the parks we have around here. And I'm going to talk to you about some of the animals that are also in our area. In fact, today's animal, well, he might seem kind of scary, but he's really not. So let's learn a little bit about this one. And to help with that, I have my little friend here. Skulls are very useful for helping us to learn about animals. From a skull, we can find out what an animal eats, how it sees, and even if it walks on 2 feet or 4 feet. So let's take a little closer look at this guy here. So we have something that has very big teeth on the front. Those look huge, don't they? They're very long and they're kind of sharp. But if we open up his mouth and take a look at his back teeth. So he has these sharp incisors here, and he's got these nice big canines. But as he goes back, there's these molars. That's what the back of your teeth are called. Well, these are flat. Well, that's interesting. Animals who eat only meat tend to have really sharp ones like these guys. And animals that eat only plants tend to have flat guys, kind of like these. So this is an animal that eats meat and also plants. That means it's an omnivore. And we are also omnivores. Put his mandible back together here. We have sharp little teeth in the front, our incisors. We have itty bitty canines on the sides. And then our premolars and our molars are flat. So we can eat meat, but we also like to eat plants. Just like this guy here. So if we look a little bit closer at him, we see that he has a nice, long, big nose. There's a big area right here. That's where his nose would be. And we can also see, usually the area for your nose, your sinuses, goes right around here, right before you hit your area where your eyes start coming in. So he's got a nice, big, long area where his nose would be. That means he has a very good sense of smell. He also has all these little tiny bones in there. Can you see them? Yep. Those bones also help with sense of smell. The more ridges and detail that are in there, the better the smell the animal had. So we have those bones inside of our skull too, inside of our nose area, but we don't have quite as many and as many little ridges because we don't smell as keenly as this guy does. He has a very good sense of smell. He also has, can you see where his eyes would be? Yep, they'd be right there. So his eyes are in the front of his head. He's got forward-facing eyes like we do. And animals who have eyes facing forward like this, that means they have very good distance vision. So we can see far out in the distance and kind of estimate how far something away is. Animals who have eyes more towards the side of their head, like deer and stuff, well, those animals don't have distance vision, but they can see much better around them. So we're going to do a little experiment. I want you to look forward, keep looking forward, put your hands in front of your face like this, and you can see your hands while keeping your eyes forward, right? Yeah. Without changing where your eyes looking, keep them looking forward. Move your hands slowly back and go until, while you're still looking forward, you can't quite see your hands anymore. For me, that's right around here. So that's pretty far back. But if I take my hands any further back, I can't see them anymore. This, while we're looking forward, is called our peripheral vision. And we got a pretty decent one. We have, the bit that we have is because we look forward and we can see distance very well. But animals that have eyes on the side of their head, well, they don't see straight in front of them very well. They don't see straight behind them at all. But they have very good peripheral vision. They can see almost to the back of their head. It's pretty cool. And they need that to get away from predators. Animals who have eyes more towards the front, well, we tend to be predator animals. It means that we eat meat. So if you see animals with nice big teeth and eyes in the front, that means that's most likely a predator on some level. And if we look towards the back here, we're going to see a hole. And this hole is where the spinal column would go in. And using that hole, we can tell whether this animal is one that stands on 4 feet or one that stands on 2 feet like us. And we do that by putting our finger right in there. Now, you see, my finger is parallel. That means it's on the same level as the ground, which means that this guy walked on 4 feet. So, again, can you guess what animal this is? We got an animal with eyes that face forward, nice sharp teeth, but also likes to eat plants, a nice strong nose, and walks on 4 feet. So what do you guess? Did you guess a bear? You're right. This is the skull of an American black bear. And we have these guys here in Connecticut. American black bears are the smallest bears we have in the United States. They're not the smallest bears in the world. There's a couple others that are smaller. But for the United States and North America, this is as small as we get. And this is still a pretty big animal. When they're standing on 4 feet, their top of their back can reach up to 3 feet high. That's pretty high, huh? Yeah. And when they go up on their hind legs, they can see better. At that point, the animal can stand almost 6 feet tall. But the interesting thing about black bears is they really like to be left alone. They do. So even though we have a lot of these guys in our area, unless you live in an area that's near a lot of woods and you have stuff out like maybe bird feeders in the winter, or maybe you have your trash out and something smells really good, well then you might see a bear in your yard because they do like to get into our trash cans and they do like easy to get food. They're opportunistic hunters, which means that they'll take whatever they can get, whatever's very easy to get. So if we have these guys out in our woods and we want to go out in the woods, well, what do we do? What do we do if we see a bear? How do we keep ourselves from getting bothered by bears? If we run across a bear accidentally, there's a couple things we can do and a couple things that we shouldn't do. So I'm going to tell you things that we shouldn't do first because these are the things that a lot of people say we should do when we run across bears. Everyone says if you see a bear and he starts coming towards you to play dead. Nope. That can work with bigger bears. And let me show you a big bear skull. This is a Kodiak bear. These guys are up in Alaska. And grizzly bears, which these guys are very closely related to, are just a little bit smaller. So as you can see, this is much bigger than our little black bear. Big, big, big bear. He still has those sharp teeth and the flat teeth and the eyes in the front and the nice big nose. Yep. But these guys, grizzlies, behave differently than our little black bears do. And the main difference why people say play dead if you run across a bear is because they're usually thinking about these big guys. Because these guys, if you play dead, they'll sniff you a little bit and then they'll usually wander off and leave you alone. But our little black bears here, well, these guys are very curious and they like to come up and investigate. So if you, and then you play dead, well, the bear might say, oh, well, this isn't a threat. Okay, I'm going to go check it out. He comes up and he starts sniffing at you. And then, remember, he has big feet and long claws, and he might start kind of pawing at you. At this point, you're probably going to get kind of scared, and you're going to go, ah! And then the bear's going to go, ah! And that's not a good situation to be in, because all of a sudden now you and that bear are very close to each other. You don't ever want to be that close to a bear. No. So playing dead, which is what a lot of people say to do, we don't do with little black bears. No. Another thing people say to do is to run. If a bear's coming towards you, you should run away as fast as you can. No, we don't do that either. The reason we don't do that is because bears, even though they're kind of dumpy looking animals when they got all their fur on them and they're big and they kind of look like they're lumbering around and they don't look like they can move very fast and they look big and cuddly, that animal can run at 25 miles per hour. That's fast. Now the fastest human that we know of can run 28 miles per hour. But there's something we got to remember. First of all, most of us are not going to be able to ever get that fast. We're not really trained for it. But even people who run at 28 miles per hour, they're sprinters. Sprinting means that we can run that fast for a very short distance. We can't keep it up for very long. And chances are good that even if you can run at 28 miles per hour for a short distance, that bear can run at 25 miles per hour much longer than you can run. Most of us will top out at around anywhere between 10 to 15 miles per hour. Trying to outrun a bear, it's not going to work very well. It might also trigger what's called a chase instinct. So if the bear sees you running, the bear might go, oh, well, that's interesting. This might be something that I can chase. Maybe I can catch it. And the bear will start running after you. So if we see a bear, well, we don't really want to run from it. The third thing people tell us to do is to climb a tree. If you see a bear, climb a tree. And there's a reason for that. That, again, works very well with these big, huge guys. Yeah, it's a very big animal. And even though grizzlies and coyotes can climb trees, they're not very good at it. They're kind of heavy, and they're a little awkward in them, so they'll get a little ways up, and they'll just go, and they'll jump back down, and then kind of wander around the base, and eventually wander off. Our little black bears, different story. This is a much smaller bear. And these guys like being in trees. In fact, one of the things that the babies do, the cubs, if they're scared, they immediately go up a tree. So climbing the trees when it comes to little black bears, not a good idea. They love being in trees. So what do we do if we see a bear and we're out in the woods? Well, first of all, your chances of actually seeing a bear are rare. There's a lot of them out there, but again, they're kind of wary of humans. And when we're out walking around, well, we're not trying to be quiet usually. We're talking to people. We're maybe hitting things with sticks. We're smashing against stuff. We're kicking rocks. We're making a lot of noise. And the bear's going to hear this and go, I don't want to mess with that. And the bear will leave. They want to keep away from us. But if we come around a bend and we see suddenly a bear there, well, there's some things we can do. First of all, we want to talk. And we want to talk in a nice, calm voice. We don't want to scream. We don't want to yell. We don't want to start shouting. We just want to be nice and calm. And we can say anything we want to say. But what we're trying to do is just let the bear hear us and go, that sounds like a human. I'm going to leave. While we're doing that, we're also going to slowly back up. We don't keep going forward on the trail. We don't go towards the bear. We slowly back up. And we keep our eyes on the bear. So this means that we can see what the bear is doing. The bear's hearing us and realizing we're humans and we're not something to eat. And us backing away is giving the bear lots of space. Animals sometimes attack when they get scared and they feel threatened. So if we give the bear lots of space, he's not going to feel as threatened. And likely, bear will wander off. If the bear kind of goes and then stands up, it looks scary, right? But it's really not. What the bear's doing is the bear's trying to get a better view. He's heard us. He kind of knows that we're backing up, but he doesn't quite know exactly what we are. So standing up means that the bear can now see over all the plants. He can also use his nose much better because now he's not smelling plants so much. He can actually smell us. And usually when a bear does this, they will drop back down and they'll wander off. A bear on his hind legs is not going to attack you. A bear on his hind legs is curious and he just wants to see what's going on around him. So should we be frightened of bears? Well, no, not usually. Again, they want to stay away from us, and as long as we are calm if we see them and back off and travel, especially in groups, which we should always do if we go out in the woods. You should always have someone else with you and talk. That's going to keep the bear from wanting to get close to us. So that is our animal for this week. are little black bears. And they're really, really cool animals. And even though they're big and they look kind of scary, as long as we respect them and respect their space, we're going to be fine.
This week we went to the Midhill Preserve in Roxbury. It's the site of a 19th century iron mine and furnace complex. It has all kinds of interesting mine shafts. And don't worry, you can't go down the mine shafts. They're all locked up. It's on a 360-acre wide preserve, which is huge. And it took a long time to hike this, so we're only going to show you a little bit. But as you see, we're entering the trail here, which is pretty cool. And when we're going through the trail, we occasionally will see some blue markers. Whenever you're on a trail, you need to keep an eye on where those markers are. So ours look like this. And each trail is going to have its own unique marker. And these are set up so that you can't lose the trail. So you can only go a little ways before you see another marker. A trailhead is areas where you will find maps of the trails that you're going to be on. And this is also where you find postings of things. So if there were black bear sightings, which there were quite a few in this park, there will be a little sign saying that black bears have been sighted, just to let people know. This will also be where you'll find out information about whether certain parts of the path may be closed up, or if you can actually take items, or if you can't. This area is a land trust, so in this park we cannot actually take anything out of there. Occasionally you will see bits and pieces of the old furnace here. And up ahead, we heard an interesting sound that we just couldn't quite figure out what it was. We think the sound was from a certain type of frog, but we're not positive. Now a little further on, we come to a really interesting and cool place, one of the mine shafts. In fact, the temperature down there is a constant 55 degrees, and as you can see, we were actually getting some of that cool air up, which was very nice because it was extremely hot the day we were wandering around here.
Oh, it got really cold all of a sudden right here. Stay right here.
Oh, that's the draft from the mine.
Oh, nice.
You can see the fog.
Oh my gosh, you're right.
I gotta get closer.
Feels so good. Oh, wow. This is like being in an air conditioning.
It is. Oh my God.
It's so cool right here. Oh my gosh.
Oh, you stand right here. Stand right there.
Oh my gosh. That is amazing. I wonder how deep that goes.
Pretty deep. There's like 4 more of these. I wonder if they're just as cool. I love the fog.
Yeah.
The other shafts were just a little bit ahead, all also closed off. And at this point, it was getting to be a bit of a climb because we were going up this very big hill. But at the top of the hill, we got to see something really interesting. There were open areas where shafts went really deep, and instead of just closing them off a little bit, they put big cages on top so that bats can get in and out very easily, but humans cannot fall down. They're very nice hibernation areas for the bats because they keep that nice constant temperature even in the winter. There were 2 additional bat cages further up the hill. I would have really liked to have been able to stay and watch the bats come out when it got to be dusk, but it's a little too dangerous to climb back down the hill in the dark. The trail started to become rockier the further on we went. Midhill Preserve is a moderate trail, which means that it's going to be a little bit more strenuous. There is no way you can bring a stroller on this one, so you are definitely going to need to be able to hike around. There's lots of rocks to climb up and climb down, and interesting rock faces to look at. Eventually, we got to the top of the trail and started to curve back down the way we had come. And started to see lots of interesting bear signs. So we saw some trees that looked like they had been gouged up. Sometimes bears like to claw at trees, to sharpen their claws, and also to see if they can get some of the wood from the underside of the tree that's softer and they like to eat. We also saw a couple of bear footprints, and we saw lots of scat. Scat is poop, basically. There are all kinds of little droppings around that were definitely bear droppings. And no, I did not take any pictures of those because that seemed kind of gross. Eventually the ground leveled out as we got closer and closer to the end of the trail and to the furnaces, which a lot of people come here to see. There was a lot of standing water in this area, which means water that is just settled, not moving, and it's good breeding ground for mosquitoes. So you should definitely bring some bug spray because we got bitten up pretty good even though we had some on. At this point I want to mention something. Whenever we go into the woods, we need to be sure we have a hiking buddy. If we're younger, the hiking buddy should be a parent, guardian, or another trusted adult. If you're a teenager and old enough to drive, then that hiking buddy can be a friend of yours, a similar age or older. And if we're an adult, yes, we need a hiking buddy too. It's always best to go out in at least 2 people. More is better. This makes the hike a lot more fun and interactive, and that way we can keep tabs on each other too. So remember, always go out with your hiking buddy.
So one of the things we can do when we're out in nature is we can pick up things and collect things. And this kind of helps us to learn about the world around us. So for instance, a couple weeks ago, I found this really cool rock. Can you see? It's got all those shiny bits in there. Yep. And this is a folded sheath, and it has mica in it. That's what all those little shiny things are. That's mica. And it's a type of mineral that's embedded in this type of rock. And you can learn all kinds of interesting things about the earth and how our area was developed by studying rocks, which is really awesome. But there are lots of places where we really should not be picking things up. So one thing we have to remember is that when we're in anything that's a state or national park, we're not allowed to take anything out of those. Nope. State and national parks were set aside as nature reserves so that we can enjoy nature, but also so that the animals have a place where they can be safe, and the geology and ecology and everything that's in nature there can kind of be preserved. They're areas where we're not supposed to be doing any damage. And even though taking a single rock out of a place doesn't sound like it'd be a problem, right? I'm only one person and I'm taking a rock. What can possibly happen? Well, the thing is, state parks and especially national parks have a lot of visitors every single year, like thousands and thousands of visitors. And if every person took even a simple rock, well, it would have an impact on the environment. So when we go to things like state and national parks, we can't take anything out. If you find stuff in parking lots and in your city parks and everything says it's okay to take it, well, you can take a little one home. And you can start what's called a Wonderbowl. And a Wonderbowl is just take a bowl that no one's using, and whenever you find something cool, you put it in your Wonderbowl. And this is a good way of starting an interesting little collection. So every week I will try and see if I can add something to my Wonderbowl. And if you have a bowl at home that you can use to put things in, you can add stuff to your Wonderbowl too. And if you find something really cool and you want to share it, well, you can actually put it down in the comments below here and share it with us, and I'll get to see what you found. Okay, sound cool? Excellent. So I hope you had fun, and I hope you enjoy being out in nature and exploring things. And next week I'll show you another park that we can go ahead and hike around and explore, and I'll introduce you to another animal that's local to our area. Okay? Have fun. Bye, everyone.